at war. There's been an act of war declared upon America by terrorists, and we will respond accordingly.
Tonight, America gets ready to strike back, but how hard and against who? Meantime, recovery efforts and emotional memories. Will we ever really feel safe again? Lots of guests tonight, and of course, Larry King Live, working 7 nights a week, as is everyone else here at CNN. The top headlines and developments for this Saturday, September 15th. President Bush, as you know, has declared the fact that we are at war. He names Osama bin Laden as the prime suspect in the terrorist attacks. At Ground Zero in New York, 152 bodies have been discovered. The number of missing now is 4,972. And there are more bodies recovered at the Pentagon, repairs to cost over $1 billion. We start in Phoenix with Senator John McCain, a member of the Armed Services Committee. The president says we're at war. With whom? Where's it going to be fought, and how?
Yesterday we prayed, and tomorrow we fight. And it'll be a war against those who choose to or seek to inflict damage upon the United States of America, who hate the United States of America, both organizations and those countries that harbor them. If we wiped out Mr. bin Laden tomorrow, I still think we would face a terrorist threat from certain countries in the Middle East. And
so what do we do? I mean, where's the battlefield, Senator?
I think we've got to be patient. I think that tomorrow we could probably launch a bunch of cruise missiles, which have proven to be singularly ineffective in the past. I think this may take some time. I think it's going to take some planning, and I think it could include a wide range of military options, including putting troops on the ground, not for a long period of time, but putting them on the ground in order to get the mission accomplished. But I think the important message here is that this isn't going to be easy. It's going to be very, very difficult against an elusive target. But at the same time, I'm convinced we can prevail and we will vanquish them.
You see nothing imminent, though.
Well, these things take time, and I would rather see, very frankly, a very effective operation than perhaps something we could do today or tomorrow, and that would be just to fire off some cruise missiles at some targets or suspected areas where bin Laden or his people are. So I don't know how soon we're going to act, but I hope that when we do, that it'll be a very well thought out and well planned operation, and one which we can be happy about.
Senator, is the next phase going to be, sadly, biological?
I don't know. There's a variety of threats. I've often said we've gone from a very dangerous world during the Cold War to a much less predictable world. There are a variety of threats, as we know, including missiles and nuclear weapons and biological and chemical warfare, as well as people crossing our borders and doing bad things to us. But that's all the more reason why we have to go to the source. It'd be very difficult for us to seal off all of our borders, and so we have to go to the source, but we also obviously have to take added measures here in the United States, particularly at airports.
So nothing will ever be the same?
Not completely, but I hope that we can reach a point where we can have most of our freedoms. If we don't, then obviously our enemies will have prevailed. But no, to be honest with you, I don't think air travel is ever going to be exactly the same, but our mission is to eradicate these threats in the United States so that we can have as much normal lives as possible.
Do you fear, Senator McCain, as what happened to Russia, a protracted conflict if it's Afghanistan?
I see perhaps a protracted conflict against various terrorist organizations and nations that harbor them. And by the way, these nations are going to have to make a choice between harboring terrorist organizations and having friendly relations with the United States. But I don't see us ever trying to occupy Afghanistan the way the Russians and the British have tried. I don't envision that scenario because I just don't think it would be profitable, and I think we might suffer the same fate. But I think we may be in and out of that country. That's one of the military options.
Is your worst fear biological in that that's something that, that's no plane going into a building, that's something in a water system?
I hate to enumerate my fears. I would rather concentrate on our strengths, on our dedication, on our commitment, on the steadfastness of our purpose, and frankly, my support of the President of the United States. I'm very concerned about a number of threats and have been for a long time, but I believe that the United States of America can stop these and prevent them from occurring as long as we remain steadfast. And I keep saying it over and over again. Americans now are going to have to be not only steadfast but patient.
Two other quick things. During
Sure.
the campaign, you were concerned about, when you were running, military preparedness. Have your concerns been allayed?
I think we still have a lot of work to do with the military to restructure the military to meet the post-Cold War threats. I think we're very, very good at doing things that we needed to do during the Cold War. I don't think we're as good as we should be at combating threats such as the ones that we are now facing. And so there still has to be a fundamental reorganization and restructuring of the military, and we haven't done that yet. And Congress, because their pork barrel spending is partially to blame.
Do you think the people are ready for a protracted period of time?
I think the greatest moments in American history have been times of crisis. Americans have again rallied. They have again displayed their heroism. New chapters of American heroism have been written in the last few days and are being written as we speak. I have the utmost confidence in the American people because that's why we're the greatest nation in the world.
Thanks, Senator, as always, and glad to see you
Thanks,
feeling well.
Thank you.
Senator John McCain, member of the Armed Services Committee. In a moment, Senator Joe Biden will devote that moment to a portion of what the president had to say this morning. Watch.
There's no question about it. This act will not stand. We will find those who did it. We will smoke them out of their holes. We will get them running, and we'll bring them to justice. We will not only deal with those who dare attack America, we will deal with those who harbor them and feed them and house them. Make no mistake about it. Underneath our tears is the strong determination of America to win this war. And we will win it.
By the way, I should have mentioned at the beginning, we will be taking phone calls throughout the program tonight if you'd like to call in. We now welcome from Wilmington, Delaware, his home, Senator Joe Biden, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. You heard what Senator McCain had to say. You heard what the president has had to say. What's your interpretation of us being now at war?
I think we are at war, Larry, but in an unconventional sense. You asked who we're at war with and who we're going to go to war with. The difference here is that we're with war with international terrorist organizations that cross borders. But the good news is I think we're going to go to war with a hell of a lot of people on our side, including our NATO allies, including possibly Russia and Pakistan and a number of other countries. And Larry, I see this as a phenomenal opportunity for the first time to do with international terrorism what President Bush, the first President Bush, did in rallying the world to deal with Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait. And I don't have a single scintilla of a doubt about the will of the American people. None. Zero. None. I am absolutely, positively certain they will rise to this, and they will have the patience, they'll have the courage, and they'll have the stick-to-itiveness. And last point, Larry, you know, when Japan was bombed, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, General Yamamoto said something that was very prophetic. He said, "We've awakened a sleeping giant, and we've sown the seeds for our own destruction, and we have created a terrible resolve in America." There is a terrible resolve created, and these guys are going to be taken care of.
World's a different place now, though, isn't it, Senator Biden? For example, let's say you go out and you wipe out a terrorist. We brought this up earlier. And they react with biological warfare. How do you counteract something like that? They're not going to let it stand, are they?
Well, they sure in hell may not let it stand. But, Larry, look, that's why I've been holding hearings on so-called homeland threats. We got to do first things first. This has changed a lot. I hope now we're all resolved that we're going to deal with what Sam Nunn and others have been talking about, biological and chemical weapons. Larry, there's chemical weapons laying all over the former Soviet Union and Russia's asking us for help to corral them, and we haven't putting up the money to go in and get them. They sit in storehouses with padlocks on them. There are are a total of 90,000 people in those so-called nuclear cities in Russia who are scientists ready to go to the highest bidder unless we get them, back to work somehow. There's a lot of things we can do, Larry, and I think this is a heck of a wake-up call. And look, the UN is going to pass a resolution saying that international terrorism is the obligation of all countries to cooperate now. They've never done that before. This is an opportunity, Larry, to begin the end of international terrorist networks. And we can't do it alone. We've got to do it with the cooperation of other countries. And
do you agree with Senator McCain that it has to be carefully planned, that we can't act impetuously like tomorrow morning?
Absolutely, positively, for two reasons. One, it may make us feel good, but it may end up breaking that coalition. For example, right now, I've spoken with the head of security, the head of the ISI, the CIA of Pakistan. They have been very reluctant to be anywhere near us. They are granting us specific opportunities. Musharraf, the president of Pakistan, has come on board in a way he never has before because he has no choice. Let's not give these guys, including the moderate Arab states who are seeking cooperation, a way out. Plan this, lay it out for them, do it with the support of the international community, and keep it up. And that's the only way, Larry, we're going to be able to deal long-term with international terrorism and get to the business of dealing with things we can do about biological weapons, we can do about chemical weapons. There's much that can be done, Larry, and increase our intelligence assets and human intelligence. It all costs money, though. It's a matter of priorities.
We have a call for you, Senator. Malibu, California. Hello.
Yes, hello, Senator Biden. I'm very concerned about people waking up Monday morning and wanting to sell all their stock. What can you tell us tonight to prevent that from happening so that America can stay strong and we send that message?
That's a big fear.
That is a big fear. I predict what will happen is there'll be initial sell-off and it will bounce back like it did bounce back in the same day, like it did after Pearl Harbor, like it did after the World Trade Tower was first bombed. And, man, what we've got to stop doing is listen to anybody who tells us we're going to have to change our way of life. Larry, we don't have to give up a single civil liberty or single freedom. I predict to you that our kids are going to be reading about this period as marking the beginning of the end of international terrorism, not the beginning of the end of America's way of life. There is no reason why we cannot worldwide deal with this. And Larry, every single leader in the world that I've spoken with, they could picture those two planes crashing into anything from the Eiffel Tower to 100-story buildings in Shanghai. That's why they've all figured this out. This is nation states versus transnational terrorist organizations. And they're all in it, Larry. They've all figured it. This has been a wake-up call.
One more thing, Senator. Of all the people I've seen speak, you appear the most, for want of a different word, optimistic.
I'm determined and optimistic because I believe, Larry, there's nothing naive about us. We have faced things like this before. And my God, every generation has stepped up to it. And this so-called X generation has as much courage, as much resolve as any generation. Remember, Larry, the World War II generation, the greatest in the world, waited until all the British troops were swimming in the English Channel. It wasn't until we got attacked at Pearl Harbor that the resolve was there. The resolve is there now, Larry. This is a sustained way in which we're going to go at this. It will be multilateral with us leading the way. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to bring the beginning to the end. We got to suck the oxygen out of the air of this terrorist, that these terrorists breathe. And we do that by denying them the places in which they have free passage.
Thank you, Senator. Always good seeing you.
Thank you.
Senator Joe Biden,
I believe
Chairman, that comes through, Chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. We go now to Washington, where we're joined by Judith Miller, senior writer for the New York Times. She's an expert on terrorism in the Middle East. She's covered bin Laden since 1993 and has a new book out, rather timely, Germs, Biological Weapons and America's Secret War. How much do you fear them against the West, Judith?
Well, Larry, I wouldn't have written the book if I didn't think that this was really the weapon and the problem, the challenge of the future. What we saw in terms of the damage just from a conventional weapon, which was these 4 jumbo jets loaded with fuel turned against us, persuaded me that there's nothing these people won't use against